Imagine this. You wake in a world where every choice you make feels like your own, yet an invisible hand guides your steps. You chase dreams, build relationships, climb ladders of success, believing you're the architect of your fate. But what if the very reality you inhabit, your ambitions, your fears, your sense of what's possible, was sculpted by forces you never questioned? What if the rules of your life were written not by you, but by those who understood power's true nature centuries ago? Niccolò Machiavelli, the Renaissance master of human nature, saw through the veil. He knew power doesn't just rule kingdoms. It shapes the very lens through which you see the world. And right now, you're living in its shadow without even knowing it. Picture yourself standing in a crowded room. Voices swirl around you, colleagues, friends, news anchors, influencers, all telling you what matters. Success, status, security. You nod, you strive, you conform. But something gnaws at you. Why does every achievement feel hollow? Why do your deepest desires seem just out of reach, no matter how hard you try? You sense a disconnect, a faint whisper that the game you were playing was rigged long before you stepped onto the board. Machiavelli would smirk at your unease. He'd say you're not wrong to feel it. Power, he argued, isn't just swords or crowns. It's the quiet force that decides what you value, what you fear, and what you believe is true. It's the hidden current pulling you along, and you don't even see the tide. Consider this paradox. You're free, yet you're not. You choose your career, your partner, your politics, but how often do you question the frame those choices are offered in? Society hands you a menu of options: work hard, buy a house, chase happiness, and you pick, thinking you're in control. But who wrote the menu? Who decided what's on it and what's not? Machiavelli's genius was seeing that power operates not by force, but by seduction. It convinces you to want what it needs you to want. It makes you love your chains by calling them freedom. And the most unsettling part? You're complicit. Every time you follow the crowd, chase the next shiny goal, or swallow a narrative without questioning, you tighten the grip of power on your reality. What does this mean for you? Pause and think. When was the last time you stopped to ask why you want what you want? Why does success look like a corner office or a viral post? Why does love mean one thing and not another? Why do you fear failure more than mediocrity? These aren't just questions. They're cracks in the facade of your reality. Machiavelli understood that those in power, whether kings, corporations, or cultural norms, don't need to control your actions. They control your desires, your assumptions, your very sense of what's real. And they do it so subtly, you thank them for it. This isn't about paranoia. It's about clarity. You're not a puppet, but you're not entirely free either. You exist in a web of influence, woven by those who know how to pull the strings. Machiavelli didn't just observe this, he dissected it. In his world, princes and popes shaped reality, not with brute force, but with cunning, crafting narratives that made obedience feel like choice. Today, the tools have changed: algorithms, media, social pressures, but the game remains the same. Your reality is a story someone else is telling, and you're living it as if it's your own. But here is the spark that keeps you reading. What if you could see through the story? What if you could step outside the script and rewrite it? Machiavelli didn't just expose power's tricks, he showed how to wield them. Not to rule others, but to reclaim yourself. The question isn't to whether power shapes your reality, it asks whether you let it keep doing so. The path to that answer is fraught with discomfort, but it's also electrifying. Because once you see the game, you can start playing it. And that's where we headed next, into the hidden machinery of why you think the way you do, and why it's so hard to break free. You've felt it, haven't you? That subtle unease, like a splinter in your mind, when you realize your choices don't entirely belong to you. Machiavelli saw this centuries ago, not as a flaw, but as the architecture of human nature itself. The hidden problem isn't just that power shapes your reality. It's why you let it. It's why you cling to the very systems that confine you. Why you defend the narratives that limit your world. To understand this, we need to peel back the layers of your psyche, your society, and the philosophical currents that have shaped both. This I about pointing fingers at shadowy elites, it's about confronting the mechanisms within you that make power as grip possible. Start with your mind. Carl Jung would argue that your unconscious is a battlefield where power plants its seeds. He spoke of the shadow, the parts of yourself you repress, your doubts, your defiance, your raw instincts. Power thrives by exploiting this. It tells you to fear your shadow, to bury it beneath conformity and politeness. Society rewards you for playing along, for wanting what everyone else wants: a stable job, a curated image, a predictable life. But Jung knew this comes at a cost. When you suppress your shadow, you surrender your ability to question. You become a passenger in your own mind, letting external forces, advertisers, influencers, cultural norms define what's worth pursuing. Machiavelli would nod in agreement. He saw how princes used spectacle and fear to make obedience feel natural. Today, it's not kings but algorithms and social pressures that nudge you into compliance, all while you think you're choosing freely. Now, zoom out to the philosophical roots. Friedrich Nietzsche warned of the herd mentality, the human tendency to follow the crowd rather than face the void of individual meaning. He despised how society weaponizes this instinct, creating a moral framework that glorifies weakness and vilifies strength. Power, in Nietzsche's view, doesn't just control your actions. It controls what you think is good or evil. You're taught to value humility over ambition, safety over risk, fitting in over standing out. Why? Because a docile herd is easier to manage. Machiavelli, ever the pragmatist, would say this isn't evil, it's just effective. Power doesn't care about your happiness. It cares about your predictability. And you, chasing approval or security, play right into its hands. But there's a deeper psychological hook. Viktor Frankl, who survived the horrors of Auschwitz, understood that humans crave meaning, even at their darkest. Power exploits this hunger. It offers you pre-packaged purposes. Buy this, achieve that, believe this to fill the void. You latch onto these because they're easier than forging your own path. Frankl would say this is why you tolerate a life that feels misaligned. You're afraid of the emptiness that comes with questioning it. Power doesn't need to force you into line. It just needs to make the alternative freedom, uncertainty, self-discovery feel too daunting to face. Society amplifies this. Look around. You're bombarded with messages about what success looks like, what happiness requires. Social media, news cycles, even your education, they all train you to want what serves the system. Aldous Huxley saw this in his dystopian vision, a world where people are pacified not by chains, but by pleasures and distractions. You're not coerced, you're seduced. And the seduction is so complete, you rarely notice it. When was the last time you questioned why you scroll endlessly, chase promotions, or fear being left behind? These aren't just habits. They're symptoms of a reality shaped by power's invisible hand. The tension is mounting now. You're starting to see it, the way your desires, your fears, even your sense of self have been molded by forces you didn't choose. But why does this matter? Why should you care that power shapes your reality? Because it's not just your choices at stake, it's your entire existence. If you don't see the game, you can't play it. And if you can't play it, you're doomed to live someone else's version of your life. The consequences of this are deeper and darker than you might think, and they're waiting just beneath the surface. Let us dive into what this unseen force is doing to you, and why it is more urgent than ever to confront it. You're starting to see it now, aren't you? The way power weaves itself into the fabric of your reality, not with a heavy hand, but with a whisper. It's in the goals you chase, the fears that wake you at night, the quiet compromises you make without a second thought. But what happens when you live in a world shaped by forces you don't question? What are the unseen consequences of letting power define your reality? They're not just personal, they ripple through your mind, your relationships, and the very society you inhabit. Machiavelli, with his piercing gaze, would tell you, ignore this at your peril. The cost of blindness is a life that's not yours, and a world that thrives on your surrender. First, let's look at your mind. Power's grip distorts how you think, thanks to cognitive biases wired into your brain. Take confirmation bias. You seek out information that aligns with the reality you've been fed, dismissing anything that challenges it. You scroll through feeds curated to keep you comfortable, reinforcing what you already believe. Neurologically, this is no accident. Your brain's reward system lights up when you conform. Its dopamine hits from likes, approvals, or fitting in. Power exploits this, crafting a world where questioning feels like betrayal. Jean-Paul Sartre would call this bad faith, living in denial of your freedom to choose differently. You're not just shaped by power, you're trained to reinforce it every time you nod along or stay silent. Now consider your identity. Power doesn't just influence what you do, it defines who you think you are. Society hands you roles: worker, consumer, citizen, and you mold yourself to fit. Arthur Schopenhauer would argue this is a trap of the will, your primal drive to exist, twisted by external forces. You internalize the values power feeds you. Success is wealth, worth is status, happiness is external validation. But what happens when you achieve these and still feel empty? The consequence is existential hollowness, a life spent chasing someone else's definition of meaning. You're not living. You're performing a script, and the audience isn't even you. On a societal level, the consequences are even starker. Power's ability to shape reality creates a collective trance. Aldous Huxley warned of this in his dystopian Nightmares, a society where people are too distracted, too comfortable to notice their chains. Look at the world today: endless entertainment, polarized outrage, manufactured desires. These aren't random. They're tools. They keep you distracted while power consolidates. Machiavelli knew this game well. He saw how rulers used spectacle to pacify the masses, and today's spectacles are just more sophisticated. The result? A society where critical thinking is drowned out by noise, where conformity is mistaken for unity, and where dissent is branded as madness. But the deepest consequence is the loss of agency. Every time you accept power as narrative, whether it's about what you should want or who you should fear, you surrender a piece of yourself. Carl Jung would say this disconnects you from yourself, the core of who you are. You become a fragment, a shadow of your potential, living in a reality that feels real but is a carefully curated illusion. The urgency here is visceral. The longer you let power shape your reality, the harder it is to reclaim it. Your brain adapts, your habits harden, and the world moves on, tightening its grip. This isn't just abstract philosophy. It's a call to wake up. You're not just a victim of power. You're complicit in its hold over you. Every unchallenged assumption, every moment you choose comfort over curiosity, strengthens the cage. But there's a way out. The consequences we've traced: mental distortion, fractured identity, a pacified society, aren't inevitable. Machiavelli didn't just expose power's tricks. He showed how to turn them to your advantage. The question is, are you ready to rebel? To break free, you'll need to rethink everything you've been taught, to wield power over your own reality. That rebellion starts now, and it's more radical than you can imagine. You've seen the cage, now power's invisible grip on your reality, shaping your thoughts, your identity, your world. It's a system so subtle you've lived within it, mistaking its walls for freedom. But what if you could shatter those walls? What if you could rebel against the script you've been handed and write your own? Machiavelli, the cunning observer of power, didn't just expose its tricks, he showed how to wield it. This isn't about becoming a tyrant. It's about reclaiming your mind, your will, your reality. The rebellion starts with a radical shift in perspective, one that turns everything you've been taught upside down. It's not easy, but it's electrifying. You're about to discover how to break free. First, you must see the game for what it is. Machiavelli taught that power thrives on illusion, making you believe you're free while steering your desires. To rebel, question everything. Why do you want that promotion? Why do you fear that rejection? Strip away the shoulds society feeds you. Carl Jung would urge you to confront your shadow, the parts of you buried under conformity. Ask, what do I truly want, not what I've been told to want? This isn't just introspection, it's defiance. Every question you ask is a crack in power's facade. Start small. Next time you're drawn to a trend or a goal, pause, trace its origin. Is it yours or someone else's? Now, reframe power itself. Nietzsche would tell you to embrace your will to power, not as domination, but as self-creation. Power isn't just what others hold over you, it's what you claim for yourself. Stop seeing yourself as a victim of systems, algorithms, or norms. Instead, become the strategist. Machiavelli's princes didn't wait for permission. They shaped their own realities through cunning and resolve. You can too. Set your own metrics for success. Maybe it's not wealth, but freedom. Not status, but authenticity. Define what matters to you, and let that be your North Star. This shift is counterintuitive. Society rewards compliance, but true power lies in crafting your own rules. Historical rebels show the way. Consider Socrates, who questioned Athens' sacred beliefs until they killed him for it. Or Diogenes, the philosopher who lived in a barrel to mock society's obsession with status. They didn't just reject power's script, they rewrote it, living on their own terms. You don't need to be so extreme, but their courage points to a truth. Freedom begins when you stop playing by others' rules. Try this. Identify one area where you feel trapped. Maybe a job, a relationship, a belief. Ask, what would I do if I weren't afraid of judgment? Then take one small step toward that answer. It's not about grand gestures. It's about deliberate acts of defiance. Psychologically, this rebellion rewires you. Your brain craves certainty, but power exploits that by offering false security. To break free, embrace uncertainty. Viktor Frankl, who found meaning in the horrors of a concentration camp, showed that you can choose your response to any circumstance. When you feel the pull of conformity scrolling mindlessly, chasing approval, pause and choose differently. Meditate, journal, or simply sit with your thoughts. These acts build what psychologists call metacognition, the ability to think about your thinking. With practice, you'll see power's tricks before they trap you. The rebellion isn't just personal, it's cultural. Huxley warned of a world sedated by distraction, but you can resist by curating your inputs. Limit exposure to manipulative media. Seek voices that challenge you instead. Surround yourself with people who question, who live authentically. This isn't about isolation, but about building a reality that reflects your values, not society's. Machiavelli would approve. A prince chooses allies carefully, knowing they shape the battlefield. You're not powerless. You're not a pawn. You're a player in a game you can learn to master. This rebellion questioning, redefining, acting gives you the tools to rewrite your reality. But there's a deeper truth waiting, a final realization that will make this struggle crystal clear. It's not just about breaking free. It's about understanding what freedom really means. That truth is coming, and it will change everything. You've clawed your way through the fog of power's illusions, seen its grip on your mind, and tasted the rebellion that sets you free. But there's one final truth waiting, one that redefines everything you thought you knew about reality. Machiavelli, with his unflinching gaze, didn't he just teach us how to play the game of power? he revealed its deepest secret. Reality itself is a construct, and you are its co-creator. The ultimate truth isn't just that power shapes your world. It's that you have the power to shape it back. This realization isn't a gentle epiphany. It's a seismic shift, a lightning bolt that illuminates every struggle, every doubt, every moment you felt trapped. You're not just living in reality. You're building it, whether you know it or not. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a vast, uncharted landscape. The world you've known, its rules, its rewards, its fears, was never fixed. It was a story, woven by those who understood power's alchemy. Machiavelli saw this in the courts of Renaissance Italy. Princes didn't just rule. They crafted narratives that made their rule inevitable. Today, the storytellers are different media, culture, algorithms, but the principle remains. Your reality is a tapestry of beliefs, and every thread you accept without question binds you tighter. But here's the revelation. You can pull those threads apart. You can weave a new story. This isn't philosophy. It's power in its rawest form. Jean-Paul Sartre would call this radical freedom. You're not just free to act. You're free to define what your actions mean. Every choice you make, whether to conform or rebel, to chase or reject society's goals, adds a stroke to the canvas of your reality. But this freedom is terrifying. Sartre knew it comes with responsibility. If you shape your reality, you can't blame the world for your discontent. You're the artist, and the emptiness you feel is a blank canvas waiting for your mark. Machiavelli would add a twist. Wielding this power requires cunning. You must see the world as it is, not as you wish it to be, and act with precision to mold it. This truth redefines your past struggles. That hollow ache after every achievement? It wasn't failure. It was the clash between your true self and the reality you inherited. The anxiety that keeps you up at night. It's the whisper of a reality you haven't yet claimed. Jung would say this is your psyche crying out for integration, for you to embrace every part of your self-shadow and all to build a world that's yours. The moment you accept this, everything shifts. The job you hate, the fears you carry, the dreams you shelved, they're not fixed truths. They're choices you can rewrite. But how do you live this truth? Start by owning your story. Stop asking for permission to be who you are. Machiavelli's princes didn't wait for approval. They acted with audacity. You can too. Define your purpose, not society's. If wealth or status doesn't light you up, reject them. If solitude or creation does, embrace it. This isn't about rebellion for its own sake. It's about authorship. Every decision, from what you read to who you love, is a sentence in your story. Write it deliberately. Now, step back. Look at the world you've built so far. Is it yours or someone else's? The question haunts, but it also liberates. You're not a pawn in power's game. You're a player, equal to the forces that shaped you. Aldous Huxley warned of a world where people forget their power, seduced into submission. Don't let that be you. Claim your reality with the ferocity of Nietzsche's Bearmensch, the clarity of Frankel's meaning maker, the cunning of Machiavelli's prince. The world is not what it seems, it's what you make it. So, stand at the edge of that uncharted landscape. Feel the weight of your freedom, the thrill of your power. What will you create? The answer isn't out there, it's in you, waiting to be unleashed. This is the truth Machiavelli knew. Reality bends to those who dare to shape it. Now, go write your story.